I'm Dr. Caitlin Kite from the Academic Development Team, and in this video, I want to provide a quick introduction to Brookfield's lenses. Stephen Brookfield advocated not just reflection, but critical reflection, a process not just of remembering, but of applying rigorous, skeptical analysis to your own thoughts, feelings, and memories. Basically, treating yourself as a study subject in the grand experiment of life, or in this case, of teaching. The point of this deliberate contemplative approach is to bring an element of rationalism into teaching so that you aren't just getting swept up into how it felt like something went, which is easy to do when a teaching experience is great, awful, or anywhere in between. The idea here instead is to become as objective as possible in your approach to gathering and interpreting facts. The outcome of critical reflection is ideally coming to a better understanding of your authentic voice, aligning your practice to your morals and your values, and through these actions, imbuing teaching with a sense of dignity and rigor. Brookfield felt that a teacher who took this approach would not only be helping themselves, but also helping their students. The teachers would feel more confident and assured because they'd be making decisions using good logic, and the students would be getting a better learning experience as a result, which includes observing their teacher's reflective practice and picking up this technique themselves. As you can see from the graphic on the screen, Brookfield says that we should look through 4 lenses when gathering data for our reflective analysis. Let's look at each one of those in turn. The autobiographical lens is probably the easiest because it simply involves thinking about your own experience. To do this, you might draw on experiential learning models such as those produced by Kolb, Gibbs, Shun, or Mason. The idea is that you're seeing what you can learn from your own experiences as both a student and a teacher. Many educators find that it's helpful to do this in writing, and that might involve something as extensive as a dedicated reflective journal or something as light touch as some sticky notes that you put on your lesson plans in order to remind yourself of what you might need to adjust before the next time you run that session. The next point of view to consider is that of your colleagues. Many teachers naturally engage with this aspect of critical reflection without realizing it. Every time you ask a colleague for advice on an education problem or seek feedback on a potential solution you're mulling over, you're looking at the situation through the colleague lens. You could also consider whether you might engage with this perspective more formally, for example, through peer observations and professional development reviews. In contemporary education, we often discuss the student voice, and that reflects a current emphasis on looking at teaching and learning through the student lens, something that was not valued historically as much as it is today. Students can provide feedback in a variety of ways, ranging from simply the expressions on their faces during lectures, to the extent to which they engage in learning activities, to more structured feedback provided in the form of, for example, a stop-start-continue exercise or the National Student Survey. You can also interact with students through staff-student liaison committee meetings and more recently through targeted projects such as those run through the Education Incubator. All of these opportunities can give you valuable insights about how students feel about your teaching practice specifically and also about the institution more widely, and that can provide context and help you make decisions. The final lens is the lens of educational literature. All teachers would ideally take an evidence-informed approach, whereby they consult the literature before making teaching decisions in order to decide what might work best in a given situation. However, in reality, many educators only turn to the literature after they've had a mystifying experience that they're trying to understand. A mixture of the two approaches should stand you in good stead to draw on others' experiences in order to better understand your own. You might even find that at some point you're able to engage in your own research and scholarship and contribute your own pedagogical insights for the benefit of others. Throughout our discussion of the 4 lenses, you may have noted that there are also 2 considerations underpinning the reflective process. The first is your own implicit value system. Brookfield recognized how our personal goals, motivations, and beliefs can influence how we experience the world and also how we interpret those experiences. There's nothing wrong with this, and in fact, we should celebrate the uniqueness that each teacher brings. However, it's important to be aware that we are all subjective. The second consideration is more explicit values, such as those articulated in the UK in the form of the UK Professional Standards Framework. The UK PSF is essentially a recommended code of conduct created and ratified by educators for educators to help them ensure that they're maintaining a certain standard. and therefore providing a quality education and preserving the integrity of the teaching profession. The UK PSF is internationally recognized as a useful benchmark, but you may encounter other frameworks in different countries and in different professions. As with your personal values, the values of the UK PSF and similar frameworks will likely influence your priorities, interpretations, and responses, so you should be aware of how this may affect your critical reflections. Brookfield discusses his lenses and the process of critical reflection more generally in much more detail in his book. If you're interested in learning more about his work, you can use the details here to track down the original citation and dig a bit deeper.